Hey, what's up? Alright, we're going to finish up this KLX140G clutch. Right now I am peeling off the original gasket from here, and then we're going to clean that up. There's a couple parts that are on back order, like the clutch basket and this other piece. I ordered them mid-June. ETA is like mid-August. Probably wouldn't get them till the third week of August. So I got everything I think I need. According to the service manual, if there's no grooves in the clutch basket or the other piece, then they're good to go. I don't see any. They just look a little burnt up. So if you haven't done it already, go ahead and peel your gasket off. And there's going to be some residue left from the original paper gasket. And I'll show you here what I use to get that stuff off of the cases. Alright, this here is CLP, Cleaner Lubricant Protective, or Preservative. Use this to clean guns. So go to your gun store and get some of that and a nylon toothbrush. And we're going to use that. It'll take the any remaining gasket stuff right off. This gasket is a paper-based gasket. So what it does is the gasket, when you put the two halves of the engine together, it's supposed to seal any minute imperfections in the engine cases or little microscopic divots in the metal so that oil doesn't leak out. So we want to get these surfaces as clean as we can. Alright, and don't forget to do the engine side of this as well. There could be gunk anywhere. Alright, so this is the original clutch spring plate, and there's the new one. You can kind of see the difference in coloration there. And let's see, this is the clutch holder, and there's the new one. It's not all burned up, heat distorted. This is the actual clutch housing here, and you're supposed to check these fingers for any grooves worn in them. If there are, you should replace it, but this doesn't have any, and it looks to be in good shape, so I think it's fine to use it. And then this part here is the hub. It looks like crap, but looking at it, there's some marks on it, but there's actually no grooves or anything worn in it. So that'll be fine. The clutch housing and the hub are the parts that are like super forever back order. I'm going to run it like this. You know, if there's a problem and those parts come in, I'll swap them out. But that's what we're working with here, plus our new friction plates and steel plates from Barnett. Okay, there's actually a spacer and a collar that go on the shaft there. This spacer is in good shape. It looks like a washer, but it's actually not. It's like milled on both sides, so it's perfectly flat. But the washer-looking thing goes on the shaft there first, and then the cylinder-like spacer will get installed. So those look good. And here's what the back of the clutch housing looks like. It's kind of neat looking. Some people call it a basket. They call it the clutch housing. After dicking around with this for a while, actually the best way to put this together is Kawasaki wants you to assemble the clutch hub and all the plates like I'm doing here, kind of off out of the basket. So in your clutch kit, you're going to get one different friction plate that's going to go against the clutch hub there. And then we're going to put a steel plate, and the steel plates have teeth on them, and they go right in the grooves on the hub. The plates are stamped, so they have like a rounded side and a sharp side. I'm putting mine sharp side out. I've seen a lot of different mechanics have different preferences. It seems most people put them sharp side out. I don't know if it makes a difference, but I'm going to do that as soon as I take all this crap off. Okay, so you have your oddball friction plate, then we have a steel plate. So that goes in the grooves there. Now the rest of the friction plates are all going to be the same. They've been soaking in oil for a couple weeks. So there goes a friction plate. There goes another steel plate, if I can do this. Come on, come on! All right. They just go on there kind of like that. All right, and then you keep alternating, and you should end on a friction plate based on the kit. So there's a friction and a steel plate. All right, so we're going to keep doing that till we end our assembly there. Now, all the matching friction plates, the keys on them, the square keys on the plate will all be lined up together. The one friction plate that looks different will be lined up in between those, and that's kind of what I'm doing here. I think I got a shot coming up showing you. And the reason for that is when you put them in the clutch housing or the clutch basket, all those plates, the ones that match will sit down in there, and the one plate that doesn't match that's closest to you goes in this higher kind of recess. So it kind of is, it's kind of like tilted or spun a little towards the right or left. And eventually it'll kind of all go in there. Now on the back of this, of the clutch hub, there's actually another one of those spacers that sticks on the back of that. So you put that spacer on before you slide this onto the shaft. And the shaft and the clutch hub are keyed, so it kind of only goes on one way. So you got to line up the keys on the shaft and also line up the keys on the friction plates as you put it all together. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass, but you'll eventually get it on. Here I think I'm showing you how all the friction plates and everything fit together in the clutch hub. You see that's the higher recess and then the lower recess. So the one friction plate that doesn't match goes in the higher one. And I think I'll swing this into view once I have it in there. You can actually put this whole thing together like this off the bike and then kind of hold it with your thumbs and slide it onto the shaft. That turned out to actually be easier. But yeah, that's basically what it looks like when it's assembled. So you got to hold that together so it doesn't separate, because each one of those steel plates has teeth on it, and everything's kind of got to stay, lined up in the teeth and the gears. But like I said, eventually this will go on. If it doesn't go on here in a second, I'll cut to the success. All right, yay! I got it on, and the plates and everything didn't separate from the clutch holder and all that kind of crap. So it's on there. The 14 millimeter bolt is going to go right through the center of that and hold everything on. That gets torqued to 48 inch-pounds, or let's see if I have the Newton meter here, 65 Newton meters, or 48, not inch-pounds, 48 foot-pounds. It's going to go right in there. Now before putting that on, we want to use some medium strength Loctite, it says. Now this Loctite here is not the normal blue Loctite. This is Loctite 246, which the Loctite company recommended to me for this application because this is higher heat resistance and oil resistant Loctite. It comes out of there like it's not runny like the regular blue Loctite. It's a little goopy actually. But it should set in about 20 minutes and it has a full cure time of 24 hours. So I'm going to put that on the bolt before I put it in here. Hey, check out the deodorant stain on my shirt in the armpit. All right, I'm torquing this down. There we go. That's a Tusk clutch holding tool I was using there. It's like 19 bucks on Rocky Mountain ATV. All right, so that's on there. All right, the next step that you got to do is the spring retaining plate and the springs. Now, the Barnett comes with these heavy-duty springs. It's going to make the clutch pull heavier, but it should also make it engage. Oh, and also on the clutch hub, the big gear-looking thing, there is two very small, thin metal plates. They're actually considered springs. Those are judder springs, and if you leave them in there or on it, and you can, I've seen people do it, It's supposed to make slipping the clutch a little easier. Mine were all burnt up and like crap looking, so I just took them off. I still have them. I could order new ones. If I don't like the clutch pull, or I could put the original springs back in if it annoys me. But we're going to try the full Barnett solution. So I put the springs on the post here, get the original bolts and put them in there. And then these are 10 millimeter bolts. Service manual does not say to use any Loctite or anything on them. It says to tighten them to, I believe, 8 foot-pounds here. Let's see what it says exactly. Got the manual right here. I'm talking about, Willis. Let's see. 78 inch-pounds, or 8.8 Newton meters. You want to go around in a star pattern doing these. As you start to tighten it, they always kind of have pressure on them from the springs pushing back against that retaining plate. And just go around, and you can use a torque wrench on them, or at 78 inch-pounds, it's basically, I don't know, an eighth to a quarter of a turn beyond finger tight. I found they just kind of went in, and at a certain point they just stopped and don't go anymore. All right, the next thing that's going in here is there's a ball bearing. I ordered a new one. I'm going to hold it up here so you can just pause. And that's what it looks like. And that goes right in there. It sits in there, and then on the engine case that you took off, there's like a post type thing that's going to sit in the center of that. So I just put some 10W40 oil that was from my clutch plate bag on it, and it just sits right in the center there. You want to make sure that you put it in evenly. You do not tap it in or anything like that. It just kind of presses in and sits there. I don't know what the hell I'm looking at. Yay, okay, there it is. All right, put the fucking thing in. Do it! Do it! All right, so once you get it in there, just like I said, make sure it's even and should spin around freely, and that's what it looks like. It just kind of sits in there. All right, now we got to get ready to put the new engine gasket on. It's a paper gasket. I'm going to use Bel Ray grease here, and I'm going to just smear a thin film around on each of the halves. So the one that's on the engine and the half I took off. And then in the earlier videos I had showed you there's a left and right metal post that goes in these little holes on the left and right side of the engine. And your case that you're going to put on will line up with that. So I've got those inserted on the left and right. I'm going to put a thin film of this on, and then on the engine half I'm going to put the gasket on, and then I'll be putting the case back on. So not a ton of grease, just like I said, a thin film. It'll kind of feel like a little sticky. All right, so here's the gasket. I'll hold it up so you can see the part number. There it is. I got a couple of these. They're like $5, but just the fact that they weren't in stock and I had to wait a few weeks was pretty lame. So I'll get this open. And when you open this up, be careful. Don't tear your gasket. If I was doing something like this, I would always just order two, because you would hate to like have waited 2 weeks for the gasket to come in and tear it or something, and then have to wait another 2 weeks. All right, so I'm going to line this up, and like I said, I have those two metal posts in their holes, and with the grease, that's going to kind of hold this all together on here. Like I said, you want to want to be careful doing this so you don't tear it. It's not super fragile, but if you pull on it the wrong way, you could tear it. So there's one of the posts, and that's where the other post is. And I'm just making sure everything's lined up with the screw holes and whatnot, and pressing around it. The grease is going to make it stick to the engine case there. It's very exciting, I know. Alright, I've got some grease on the engine case I have off, and I'm just doing a little test fit here. Inside of here, I'll show you, there's this little post, and that post fits inside that ball bearing we installed. I'm just putting some grease on that right there. That little sucker. Okay. Alright, so now we're going to line this up. The two holes line up with the two posts that are sticking out of the side of the engine, and it goes right on. Now there's a very specific way that Kawasaki wants you to tighten these bolts. These are the long 8mm bolts that are all the same. They have a numbered sequence, and they are tightened to 78 inch-pounds. I would go around and just hand tighten them, or just snug them till they just stop, and then go around again. You could use a torque wrench, but again, at this level of torque, we're talking like what, 6.5 foot-pounds. It's really just a little beyond hand tight. But I'm going to insert a photograph of the tightening pattern here. Alright, yeah, so just follow that diagram. You could pause that or take a screenshot and print it or something if you needed to. And go around and tighten these. That's kind of pretty much it. What you want to do, if you threw away your oil filter or changed out your oil filter, put a new one in. And then I'm going to wait 24 hours for the Loctite to fully cure on that main bolt, and then I'm going to fill it up with oil. You'll be putting your clutch cable back on the end there, and then also reinstalling your brake pedal. But before I do that, I'm going to put the oil in it, run it for a bit, make sure I don't have any leaks or anything like that. And if everything looks good, I'll top off my oil level, and then I'll hook my cables and my brake pedal back up, and then it's back to the mountain with Green Fury. Fingers crossed. I'm sure it'll be fine. All right, I hope this was helpful to you. Even if you're not doing a KLX, maybe it's helpful just to see someone change out the clutch and stuff, even if I do it shitty. All right, dudes, take it easy.